Parshos Shemos. The Parsha begins describing the descent of Klal Yisrael into Golus. Ve'ele Shemos b'nei Yisrael haboim Mitzrayma. Present tense. These are the names of the Bnei Yisrael that are coming to Egypt because we are constantly experiencing Golus Mitzrayim. Every Golus that the Jewish people experience nationally as a nation is all there in Mitzrayim, in Golus Mitzrayim. And every meitzah, every constraint, every challenge, and every difficulty we experience, haboim, it's constantly a replay of Golus Mitzrayim. And so therefore we need to examine the descent, what brought about the descent into Golus Mitzrayim, in order to gain a clue as to how we are supposed to go out of Golus Mitzrayim. Anochi ered imcha Mitzrayim, Hashem said to Yaakov, I will go down with you into Egypt. Anochi, it's the identical Anochi that A'al chogam olei, that will help take you out, that will lead you out. And in this parsha, we find a very important clue as to how the door of the prison of Mitzrayim locked upon the Jewish people. What the final stage of Golus Mitzrayim, the koishi hashibud, the difficulties of the shibud, the darkness of Mitzrayim that descended upon the Jewish people, how it came about, and therefore thereby we will gain access as to how we open up that door in order to be able to exit, in order to be able to go out. The Torah tells us at the beginning of the Parsha, when Yosef died and his brothers, V'chol Hador Hahu, all the original generation that were part of the Yodei Mitzrayim, Ubnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, Paru, Vayishritzu, Vayirbu, Vayatzmu b'moed moed. The Bnei Yisrael, Paru, they were fruitful. They multiplied, literally, simply, as Rashi tells us, they were moiled, Shisha bekerem echad beker sechad, 6 in one go. The Jewish people became a very powerful people. As the Midrash tells us, they became exceedingly wealthy. The Egyptians were jealous of them. But there's something deeper here, as Chazal also say, Paru vayishritzu she'osu ma'aseh shrotzim. They started to resemble the shkotzim that surrounded them. They started to appreciate the culture of Mitzrayim, and they absorbed it. Vayishrutzu, vayirbu v'yatzmu b'moid ma'oid. Ma'oid always refers to material wealth. Vatimale ha'aretz oisam. And the earth, the materialism filled them. It defined them instead of they being on top and being in control of the material of the world. Vatimale ha'aretz oisam. The artius filled them. They'd absorbed the Eretz Mitzrayim. And then the Torah goes on and tells us, Vayokom melech chodesh al Mitzrayim, asher lo yada es Yosef. A new king arose on Eretz Mitzrayim that did not know Yosef. And herein lies a very important clue as to how Golus Mitzrayim came about. Vayokom melech chodesh. There's a remez, there's an allusion here. There's a power of chidush that lies in every yid. We have an ability to pick ourselves up and rejuvenate, start afresh. Vayokom melech chodesh al Mitzrayim. The king of Egypt took over that koach of chidush. He took that power of his chadshus, asher lo yada es Yosef. And he did not know Yosef. There's a midah of Yosef, as we will see and we will discuss. Yosef reflects the power of rejuvenation, of constantly working, lahoisef, to add more and more, never to be satisfied with one's matzav, with one's situation, to constantly strive for new heights, new greatness, and never to resign oneself to the prison of life. Yosef lives in such a prison for so many years, and yet he's constantly in a state of chidush, of his chadshus, of joy and positivity. And the geula, the exit of Mitzrayim, all came about when Klal Yisrael took over that koach of Chiddush, as we find even in Egypt, almost conditional on their exit. Before the Makkah of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, HaChodesh hazeh lochem, Rosh Chodoshim. I'm giving over to the Jewish people the power to establish the calendar. The months now belong to you. Bezdin say Mekudesh Mekudesh. Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim. The Jewish people are going to establish and consecrate time. And as this forum tells us, HaChodesh hazeh lochem, HaChidush hazeh lochem. The power of Chidush, the power of rejuvenation is going to be recaptured by the Jewish people. And that is the exit, the very entry into Golus. When we lost that Koach HaChidush, we lost the ability to grasp, to seize every moment and utilize it. We resigned ourselves to the dark walls of Mitzrayim. The exit of Mitzrayim was when we recaptured the Koach HaChidush, the ability to seize the moment, to capture the moment. The whole Yetzias Mitzrayim was dependent on the koach of Chidush. HaChodesh hazeh lochem. Hashem says, I'm giving you that koach HaChidush. It's implanted in the Bria. The koach of Chidush is there in Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. We know that the world, the finite, limited world, expresses its limitation in 3 dimensions. In the physical world, Olam, Shana, in time. Time is something that limits us. Hashem is infinite, is above time. Hoya, Hoiva, V'yiyeh, lives in the past, the present, the future in one moment. But we live within the confines of time, space, the physical world, and Nefesh, our body. Our being constrains us and limits us. It's a Meitzar, it's a Mitzrayim, it's an exile of sorts. And the pathway to be able to break those walls, to bring down that wall, is through seizing the power of Chiddush. HaKadosh Baruch Hu implants within the concealment, inside the external shell, the physical limited walls, inside there is a power of rejuvenation. Every cell in creation is constantly rejuvenating itself. In Olam, in this world, the scientists have taken every atom and they've staggered it to a fraction of a moment, a thousandth of a moment, and they recognize that the nucleus of every cell, of every atom in this world is constantly pulsating with energy. It's appearing and disappearing. HaMechadesh b'chol yom tuvoi ma'aseh bereishis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is recreating, concealed before the naked eye, because we're living in the material limited domain. But there in the world there is a power of Chiddush. It's implanted in creation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is recreating every second, every moment, the entire world, the physical world. And time too is pulsating with energy. Every moment is pregnant with new opportunity, because it's a new moment. It's a new beginning. And so too, in the nefesh of every person is a new breath of life every moment. And there's the potential for an entirely new beginning. True, we are weighted down and we're harnessed by all our past. We develop negative thought patterns and our minds are constantly gravitating to things that are negative. Past experiences. We've failed. We think we're helpless. We're useless. We think this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We can't forgive this one or that one. And we're trapped in a meitzar of the body, of the finite body. But we have the power to change. We have the power of Chiddush, and it's given to us. There's a beautiful medrash, a medrash Tanchuma at the beginning of Parshos Chukas. Fascinating story the medrash tells us. There was a fellow that was leaving Eretz Yisrael, and he was going up to Bavel. And on the way, he saw, as he was leaving Eretz Yisrael, he saw an amazing sight. He saw 2 birds that were fighting with one another, and they were embroiled in a very bitter fight, and one bird actually killed the other bird. And then he saw the bird that was still alive circling around, swooped down somewhere, and picked up a little herb, a little piece of grass or something, and he waved it before the nostril, before the nose or the beak of this dead bird. And the bird slowly sprang back to life. What an amazing thing. He was watching the spectacle, and he saw exactly what herb the bird had taken, and he went there to that little patch of grass or herbs, and he filled his pocket with it. He said, wow, I have the elixir of life, Tchias HaMesim. I have the ability to resurrect the dead. This is incredible. And up he went towards Bavel, and the Midrash tells us that when he came to the Sulama Shel Tzur, to the ladder of Tyre, right before, in Lebanon, right before the city of Tyre, as he was entering into that town, he saw that there was a lion, a dead lion, on the side of the road, and he said, wow, let me see if this really works. And he took these little grass herbs, and he waved it before the nostril of the lion, and the Midrash tells us that the lion slowly sprung to life. He's very hungry after such a long sleep, and he sees this fellow in front of him. He pounced on him, ripped him apart, and ate him up. That's what the Midrash tells us. Perhaps there's something very deep over here. It's not a simple story, because leaving Eretz Yisrael is a bechina. It's a dimension of leaving, going into Golus. We have a battle, an interior battle. There are two birds that are chirping inside of us. There are positive forces and there are negative forces. And sometimes it seems to us as if the negative has completely overpowered the positive. But we have a capacity inside of us. We have a secret of Tchias HaMesim. We can actually create a resurrection of the dead. The body is constantly rejuvenating, and the past is no indication of the future. You know, we say with the hedge funds or investment instruments of investment, there's always a disclaimer: past performance is no indication of future results. That's the reality. Past performance is no indication of future results. I think it was the Yesod HaAvodah, the Heilige Yesod HaAvodah, he writes, he once asked a horse jockey, he said, someone came to him and was complaining. He said, Rabbi, he says, I fail and I fail and I fail. I feel like I'm a little fly trapped in the bottom of a glass of water. I try to get out and I fall back. I try to get out and I fall back. What should I do? And the Yesod HaAvodah told him, he said, I once saw a professional horse jockey. And I asked the horse jockey, I said, does the horse ever throw you down? Does it ever throw you off the horse? And he said, of course, the horse throws me off all the time. I said, well, what do you do when the horse throws you off? He said, I grab the reins and I jump back on the horse as fast as I can, because I know if not, the horse is going to run away. Until 1,000 times. And we have to constantly get back on our horse, on our chamor, on our donkey, on our olam hachumri, and rein it in. And the fact that in the past we weren't successful in breaking negative habits, in exiting, in leaving Mitzrayim, is no indication that we can't in the future. It's implanted and inbuilt within us the ability to experience Yetzias Mitzrayim. This fellow, he came to the Sulam Shel Tzur. Every word in Chazal, of course, is important. Sometimes we capture the meaning, we have an inkling of the meaning, sometimes we don't, but we understand. Everything has infinite depth to it. Tzur, Tyre, Chazal say, Le'nismala tzur ela mechurbana shel Yerushalayim. Tyre reflects material indulgence, the complete world of the physical. Yerushalayim, Tzion, reflects the spiritual world. And it's either or, it's like a seesaw. And Sor is only full from the Churban of Yerushalayim. We descend into Golus and we allow the spirit to decay, and therefore the body becomes stronger and stronger. Negative habits become more and more cemented within us, as we will see. And when he came to the Sulam Shel Tzur, and he wants to give life to the lion eats him up. There's a message here. Because we all have that power of life, life-giving energies. And we can either harness it for the positive, and even in Golus we can break forth, we can live in Yerushalayim, or we can let the lion can devour us up. And before long, we can live deep in the cell of Golus. What is the key to exiting the Golus? Chazal tell us, Aveira gereres Aveira. One sin leads to another sin in its wake, and it rolls over and snowballs. Or mitzvah, a mitzvah, gereres mitzvah, it leads to another mitzvah in its wake. And while we are falling off the cliff and feeling that we are careening down, we can arrest that descent in Mitzrayim and we can move up. How? One Avera leads to another Avera. One negative thought, you see sometimes there's a little thought that enters the mind, a negative thought, we're angry at someone, and it feeds on itself, it metastasizes in the body, it germinates, and it constantly becomes bigger and bigger, and we get more embroiled, and it arrests and paralyzes us more and more and more. And we're trapped in it. It's negative thought patterns in so many different ways. And the idea is, the way out is mitzvah, curse mitzvah. We change, we connect, tzavtza. There's a koach of chiddush, we have the ability to change. It's implanted within us. We have the ability to come out of Mitzrayim. Instead of the Vayakom Melech Chodesh, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. Hashem gives us the power of chiddush. We have to know it. Pesach is all about Yetzias Mitzrayim, that we believe, Ki'ilu Atzo Yotze Mi Mitzrayim, we have the ability, we're going out of Egypt, we can go out of our own Mitzrayim, the biggest prison walls, the biggest addictive thought patterns, deeds, things that we are trapped in, negative behavior patterns, we can break loose. We have to believe it. We say every day, in the morning and at night, we're Zocha, we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Vilna Gaon says, it says in the Torah, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim 50 times. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the ability to leave our own little Mitzrayim, even if we're on the 50th level of Tumah. It's so essential, it's the cornerstone of our whole Avodas Hashem. Anochi Hashem Elikecha, the first words Hashem says to us. I'm taking you out. I took you out and I'm taking you out. And I'm giving you the ability to go out. Anoichi, the Anoichi that's Ered is the Anoichi that's Alcha. Let me share with you a little idea or a thought perhaps that will help us gain access to breaking open the door of our prison cell and helping us harness the power of Chiddush. It's a simple idea, and I'm speaking to myself because we're all, the very nature of who we are is that we are in Mitzrayim, and we grapple with Yetzias Mitzrayim in the morning and at night and every moment. We want to connect to the light, we want to experience freedom, we want to give expression to our individual destiny and mission in life, real self-expression. We yearn for self-expression. It expresses itself in a material zone, but really deep down we want to realize our purpose of creation. All of us. Let me share with you a little idea that I think resonates with me and helps in a very, very significant way. And it's alluded to here in the Pasuk. The descent into Mitzrayim is expressed in the Torah, Ubnei Yisrael, Paru vayishrutzu vayirbu vayatzmu b'moed moed. They engaged and indulged in the material world. Vayishrutzu vatimole haaretz oisam. A little thought here. The Arizal writes, Rabbi Chaim Vital brings from the Arizal, that the Ika Hasogas Ruach HaKodesh, the ability to connect in the most intimate way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is through the medium of brachas. Of brachas, we talked this week about the Baruch Atah Hashem. Our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is predicated on appreciation and understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is constantly flowing His divine blessings towards us. We just have to be a receptacle. We just have to be a keli, a vessel that's willing to accept and to absorb. He's the source of bracha. Rotzen, the Rotzen Hatoiv Lahetiv, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us bracha every moment. And every time we make a bracha, we're recognizing and acknowledging that divine flow that's flowing towards us every second. There's a bracha we make. a kloliistic bracha, an all-inclusive bracha, shehakoil niyeh bidvari. Take a cup of coffee, we made a bracha, shehakoil, that everything, niyeh, is coming into being every second, is being created, bidvari, with your word. Oiseh Maaseh Bereshis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is constantly recreating. Genesis, Maaseh Bereshis, is constantly occurring every second. Not visible to the naked eye, but we know that it's there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is recreating the Olam, the Shana, the Nefesh. And when we make that bracha, we're connected to the source. The Sforim say that the words shahakel, making a bracha, shahakel niyeh bidvari, is a skula for hamtokas hadinim, the strongest dinim and judgment that stands towards a person. A person can break through the great shell of this material world by acknowledging the source, shahakel, that everything, it's all yours. Niyeh bidvari. I saw in a Sefer Einoid Milvadi, there's a Sefer that talks very interesting. He brings there that in the Sinai War in 73, there was a tank unit, a battalion, an Israeli tank battalion. They had 10 tanks, and they had to take out an Egyptian battalion. And they were moving towards them, and apparently quite a few of the tanks right away went up in flames. The Egyptians were able to pinpoint them. And in one of the tanks, the soldiers were there, secular soldiers, and the head of the tank, the sergeant, said to everybody else, he said, listen, everybody, we need a prayer. Say a prayer. Does anybody know any special prayer? And one of them knew that there's a blessing, Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. And he said, let's say the blessing, Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. And they said the blessing. They didn't even have any water or anything. They were terrified, and they're moving towards this tremendous army of tanks. And they pinpointed their turret towards one of the tanks. And everyone said together, Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari, fire! And they saw the tank go up in flame. And they said, there's another tank. They said, move towards there. It's exactly where the direction is. He's moving his turret towards us. Fire! Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. The whole tank, the whole unit screamed out, Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. Bang! And they eliminated. And so it went. And they were able to emerge unscathed. All in the koch, the power of Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. My Rabbi, the Nesiv Shalom, told me, he said, in Branovich, he had one brother that survived the war. He was a Rav of the Salon Mashtibel in Bnei Brak, a very special person. He said in Branovich, his father and his family were hiding in a bunker, and the Germans came into the house in Poland and rooted them out and lined them all up against the wall. It was clear they were going to be shot. And his father, on the way to the wall, told his little boy, bring me a glass of water. And he said out loud, the bracha, Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. Now, great tzaddikim, before they pass away, they want to say Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari. A recognition and an acknowledgement. It's the strongest declaration that I affirm everything is you, Hashem. Everything is you, and thereby there's no difference, this world, the next world. It's all yours. I can melt into your presence. But he said the bracha, and the German just left the house. He was called out, or he was just left them, and they were able to hide in another bunker. They were able to stay alive for another few months. Most of the family, unfortunately, they perished afterwards. But he said the power of Shehakol Niyeh Bidvari is so powerful. What is that power? You know, the Chidah writes that who we are is the food that we eat. The food is the dam, ki hadam hu hanefesh. And food has a klippa, it has a material shell associated with it. It has a physical shell. And in food, we can be vayifshritzu, vayirbu, vayatzmu, can become a whole celebration of culinary delights. We can worship the food, enjoy it. It becomes an end to itself. Or there's a v'necho mipirya v'lisboya mituva unevarechecha lebekdushu Torah. We eat. Yeah, we eat. We need to eat. We've got to sustain the body. But we're making a blessing on it. We're acknowledging the source. Famous story of the Satmar Rebbe who was eating once some fruit, and there was a chassid that was there at the table, and he was looking at the Rebbe, and he was thinking, what's the big deal? What's the big difference between the Rebbe and me? He's eating and I'm eating. We're both engaged in material concerns. And the Rebbe grasped his thought, and he said to him, no, Yankele. He said, you make a bracha because you want to eat. I eat because I want to make a bracha. There's quite a difference between us. The purpose is the bracha. It's quite a different story. The Chida writes, he says, we take a cup of coffee, we make a cup of tea, and we put in so much energy into preparing that cup. We want to make sure that it's absolutely clean. We don't want to have a dirty cup. Sometimes, there's a little scent of a whiff of the dishwashing detergent, so we clean it. And for those that are coffee aficionados, that really appreciate a cup of coffee, we brew it, we put a little energy into it. We want to make sure it's a delightful cup of coffee, just the right, everyone has their 1 spoon, 1.5 spoons of sugar, no sugar. Everyone has their own specific, how they want to have their cup of coffee. And then it comes to the bracha, and we just zip through the bracha. 1, 2, 3. And that is a serious error, because the way that we break through the material shell of food and we ensure that the food is zon and machaya our neshama, there's a koch chiyus, there's life, there's physical life that sustains an external shell of the body, or the spiritual life that nourishes us. Every second is a new breath of life. And it's supported by us. Hashem makes us a shutaf and a partner of nishmatem ma'oid lenafshei seichem. And we can connect to that spirit, that rejuvenating spirit of life inside of us, when we engage the food that sustains us for the right meaning and the right purpose. We recognize and acknowledge shehakol niyeh bidvari. We stop, we pause, we think beforehand, and we say the bracha slowly. And thereby, the food, instead of the material, external, physical shell, being the predominant force that gives our body life, but there's an element of shrotzim there. Instead, it's the spiritual soul that nourishes us. The whole concept on Pesach of the matzah, the eating of the matzah, is we're connecting to that hachodesh hazeh lachem through the al matzahs umroirim yerchlu. It's spiritual food. It's michla de mehemanusa, because it gives life to the neshama. That's the yitzias that affords us the ability to open up the door and leave Egypt. We celebrate those matzahs. Al matzahs umrorim. And we can experience that a little bit every day if we only stop and pause. At least, we can't change our entire nature, of course. We're human, physical. We have certain food preferences and certain likes and not likes, but at least at the minimum, if we stop and pause and make the bracha, just the bracha shehakol that we make through the day, instead of just a perfunctory acknowledgement that we don't even remember, did we make the bracha? Didn't we make the bracha? If we stop, we pause and we think, shehakol niyeh bidvari, we're seizing a little koch of the chidush of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What we're saying is, I know, of course, I'm enjoying this drink, this food, this ice cream, whatever it may be, but let it sustain my spirit. Shehakol, it's your spirit. Shehakol niyeh bidvari, you're giving life every second to this, every moment. It gives us a different perspective and a different connection to chiyus. And so we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Oir Chadash al Tzion Toh. We all want to be Mechadash B'chol Yom Tovah. We want an Or Chadash, a new light. We want to connect to that power and spirit of renewal. We want to leave behind all those things that the body traps us in. And we can, and we believe it. It's fundamental. It's the cornerstone of our belief. Asher hitzesicha meretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of Egypt. I'm taking you out of Egypt. We can connect to it. We know, we believe that we're going to connect to it. And this is one little pathway, one little way in which we can experience and connect to that power of Geula. Have a wonderful Shabbos.